Before the internet was the internet, my Commodore 64 ham radio BBS days. You know, every once in a while, someone pops into comments and says something like, "This looks AI generated," or "Why don't you make real content?" And I just have to laugh because if you know where I came from, if you know what online looked like before the internet even had a name, you'd never say that. Let me take you back. Picture a room, not a studio, not a gaming setup, a basement, a spare bedroom, a corner of a tiny apartment, or just a shack, a shed out in the back lot of your yard. Space you couldn't carve out. On the desk, a Commodore 64, beige, heavy built, like a tank, next to a 1540 floppy disk drive. Sounds like a diesel engine every time it spun up. On top of that, a 1200 baud modem, or a TNC, a little metal box with LED blinking like it was a speaker, speaking Morse code. Beside that, a ham radio rig, maybe a Yasu, a Kenwood, an ICOM. You can take your pick. I've used them all. Didn't matter which. They all had the same serious industrial look. Coax cable running everywhere, CTR monitors, glowing green or amber lights lighting up the whole room like a radioactive nightlight. And the Commodore 64, you weren't playing games, you were running BBS, bulletin board systems. Sometimes LBBS, sometimes CNET, sometimes something you hacked together yourself. You weren't logging into a cloud. You weren't dialing in. You were connecting over packet radio. AK-25, over air. This was online before online was ever a word people used. You had Callsigns, you had nodes, and you had messages bouncing from stack to stack, from city to city, long before anyone thought to call it social media. And nothing, absolutely nothing about this was automated. There was no AI. There was no shortcuts. If you didn't know how to wire it, script it, configure it, and fix it when it broke, you simply weren't there. That's the world I came from. So when someone rolls in my comments, like today, and says, "This looks like it's AI generated," just think, buddy, I was running systems when you were still theoretically a concept, a theoretical concept. I've watched this whole thing grow from ham shacks, BBS, to dial-up, to broadband, social media platforms, AI models, and I've written scripts by hand. I've configured modems. I've screamed in your ear if you picked up the phone and at the wrong time. I've watched packets crawl across the screen at 300 baud and thought, this is the future. So when you talk about the digital sovereignty, I'm not repeating buzzwords. I'm talking about a life I've lived since the days when being online meant a Commodore 64 and a ham rig, a mess of cables and a BBS. That's maybe 3 people would connect to at night. You want to question whether my content is real? Ask yourself this. Were you there when the glow of the CTR and the hum of the radio was the whole internet? Were you there when the 1200 baud connection felt like warp speed? Were you there when we built our own networks because there wasn't one yet? Because I was. And that's the difference. You're looking at AI like it's the beginning. I'm looking at it like it's just the latest layer on top of a stack. I've been standing here for decades. This isn't AI generated. This is lived generated. This is Commodore and coax generated. This is ham radio BBS generated. I was online before there was online, and I'm still here. And that's my rant. Like, follow, and subscribe. We'll be back with more.